Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We are live today to talk about all of the latest in Bachelor Nation. But before we get started, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the lovely Mariah Davis. Mariah, hello. Happy St. Patrick's Day. How are you? I feel like this is going to be such a fun stream.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. I love that we're both so festive. We're wearing two different greens, but I think the good thing is that we're showed up and we're in green and we're festive. And I'm pretty sure that means we're like spared from bad luck. So this should be a good live.
Yes, okay, you guys, I have to confess I was not wearing green earlier, but then I found out that there could be some sort of bad luck involved, and I said, nope, none of that. We don't need any bad luck. It's been too wild of a pandemic. Just got to put on some green and keep things positive. So we hope you are all having fabulous St. Patrick's Day, sharing in the green wearing. And we hope to brighten your day with some Bachelor Nation news. So let's get into it. We've, of course, been talking non-stop about After the Final Rose, the powerful conversations that were had there. And what's really exciting is we actually got some new details today about a conversation that happened on the After the Final Rose stage that we did not get to see. So, photos were shared of Michelle and Rachael sitting together on stage. You know, they've got some serious expressions on their face, as you can see there. So naturally, fans were dying to know what went down. Lucky for us, the real MVP, Emmanuel Acho, took to his social media and literally shared a play-by-play of the conversation. He said that this was actually his favorite conversation of the night. And he explained that unfortunately, literally, it came down to time. They just couldn't fit it in the show, I guess, which is a huge bummer because I think a lot of us would have loved to have seen this. He explained that when he was talking to Michelle, he could sense that she was hurting because Rachael had never reached out to her personally once the photos surfaced. Given their friendship on the show and just everything that was being said, it kind of hit Michelle in a personal place, which obviously makes a lot of sense. He took the opportunity on the fly, you guys, literally just said in his microphone to producers, hey, we got to get Michelle and Rachael out here. You know, I want them to be able to reconcile. He said he knew after talking to Matt that we weren't going to see any reconciliation there between Matt and Rachael, but he saw an opportunity here for two people to kind of talk things out and come to a happier conclusion. So let's take a clip. He literally, you guys, on his Instagram shared an entire play-by-play of how it all went down. We're going to take a look at a small clip where he explains what happened when they reunited.
Of that. So if you're willing, Michelle would love to talk to you. Rachael smiled and of course she obliged. Michelle walks out, they sit down on the couch together, and after Michelle pours her heart out and Rachael pours her heart out, the two shared an embrace, and I simply sat there and witnessed it and thought, if we could see this collectively as a society, we could all grow. It was a beautiful depiction that I got to witness, and for the sake of time, you all did not get to witness.
So I am so thrilled that he shared this with us because honestly, I would have loved, absolutely loved to have seen this conversation. I'm sure you feel the same, Mariah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Especially because the nature of After the Final Rose was really heavy, especially with Rachael and Matt. We didn't really see a place where it was polite, but it wasn't necessarily on good terms, in my opinion. It seemed
Mm-hmm.
like it was super uncomfortable to watch. I can't imagine how
Right.
uncomfortable it was for them. But it would have been nice to see this reconciliation between Rachael and Michelle because they did share that very, very unique experience together on the show. Of course, Michelle would be personally hurt by Rachael's words, her past actions, and I think it's important to show, like he said, that there are opportunities for us to come together and for us to mend things that could have been hurt by past actions. And I think that would have been a good example for people to see. We still very much can come together. Look, it's happening right now. So I would have loved to see that. Thank God that he requested that kind of sit down. I think that goes to show right there how good of a job job he did as a host, because he saw an opportunity and he went for it. And I love that he shared that with us, because we would have had no way of knowing otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I am so with you. I think it really speaks to, as we've been saying for such a long time now, how right he was to be the man on that stage, navigating these conversations, creating these moments. Because for him, it's not necessarily about, okay, this is The Bachelor, this is after the final rose, the franchise, what beats do we need to hit, what questions do people want answered. I think it's really important to him to foster healing, right? And difficult conversations, but that lead somewhere. They're not just for the gasp moment for people watching at home, right? He had a much more important agenda at the end of the night. So I think it was really great that not only did he fight for that conversation to happen, he took it upon himself to put that video up on his Instagram and share it with all of us, because we love to see women supporting women. We love to see the drama, right? But we do also love to see female friendships, succeed and get through the highs and the lows. So really, really impressed. Can't say enough good things, and am so thankful that we got to see this. If you guys want to see the whole video, his whole explanation, it is on his Instagram. But we're going to move on for now, because we do have some updates on Mr. Matt James as well. We have talked about this also, Mariah, that he really went through it this season, from the emotional journey, with the women and finding love and being so vulnerable and connecting with his dad, to all of the controversy. And then after the final rose, I cannot think of a Bachelor who had to emotionally give more than I think Matt James did throughout this process. After the final rose aired the next day, Matt tweeted out to his fans saying, "Google therapist near me." Now, whether or not this was done, super seriously or more on the humorous side, he has been through a lot. I think everyone should go to therapy. Therapy is amazing, right? I mean, hello, we're all fans of that here. But he certainly did not sign on, I don't think, for all that came with his journey in this process. So I thought it was interesting, to see him tweeting this. He's been so strong, but if he's actually going to go for some therapy, more power to him. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, this is obviously set in a comical light. He's kind of making fun of basically all of the heaviness that he's had to carry. But I think there's no way. I mean, if it was me going through this experience, I would have been in therapy the moment The Bachelor ended, before it aired, but the moment I walked out of the house. I feel like you need it with all that pressure that he talked about. He talked about all of the additional pressure that he felt being the first Black Bachelor. So listen, therapy, in my mind, it is a privilege. It is taking your vitamins. It's very healthy. So if that is in fact what he's doing, then more power to him.
Absolutely. I mean, we all signed on to this season with the hopes that he would be walking away from this blissfully in love, starting the next chapter of his life, absolutely on cloud nine. And he is so strong and has handled all of this with so much grace, but it is devastating to know that he's just simply not in that place, right? So hopefully he takes some time, he does the healing he needs to, because he was a great Bachelor through it all. I mean, honestly, he really did such a good job. He did stop by Good Morning America as well following after the final rose. And he was asked, I thought this was a really interesting question, because I know I thought of it during that finale. He was asked if he felt he missed out on pursuing some of the other women who he did have really great connections with on the show, who were absolutely incredible. Because, he chose Rachael. That connection was the one that he clearly felt the strongest about. But had he, of course, known what was coming, probably wouldn't have gone there. And he said, quote, "The conversations that have come from everything that's taken place are more important than anything I could have left with. And if that means that I leave under the circumstances that I left with, so be it." In that interview, he also said, quote, "As the love stories become more diverse, the people that tell them should become just as diverse. I'm excited to see the institutional change take place, and I'm honored to be a part of it." So he is so well-spoken. I think this is such a mature perspective, to be able to look back on his journey and process it this way. We've been saying this, right? That the silver lining of this season is, thank God, some conversations that clearly needed to be had, things that clearly needed to be addressed within the franchise have come to light and can no longer be ignored. But he is the person who, you know, went through it, had to live it, had to experience it. And to hear him, you know, express that what he just wants to see moving forward is the people behind the scenes getting more diverse and actual change happen within the franchise, I am just blown away by him, honestly.
It's a very strong perspective to have, and it's important for me, or I'll say I love that I got to see him go on such a huge platform like Good Morning America and share that perspective, because there are a lot of people who are kind of bitter about how this season went. They're unhappy. They feel like their needs have not been met and they are unsatisfied. But I think it's important to point out the overall message. It's that we have promoted positive conversation. We're creating movement within an organization that desperately needed it, like way back when. So I think it's great. Of course, it's still devastating to him. You go on this, you embark on this journey hoping that you're going to meet the love of your life. It's going to bring all of this good fortune your way. And really, yes, it has done that for him. And I think what we're hearing from him is that he recognizes that, but it's also done so much more than he's imagined. And though he wasn't expecting it to have these outcomes, they're actually very positive and very strong outcomes. So I love the perspective that he's having and that he's sharing it with people, because I think people who are sitting down in their like bitter mood need to hear it. So keep that in mind, everyone who is unsatisfied with the way the season has gone. It is ending in a happier way, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, his season, that's what he signed on for, right? Like, this season was supposed to represent change. And granted, it didn't necessarily come in the form of a really beautiful, clean-cut, simple love story, but it did come. It did bring change, which, you know what? Some of what we aimed for, we got. And I think it was definitely the more important goal than just the love story at the end of the day. If you can step away from the fact that ultimately this is a reality dating show competition, we had a bigger picture to pay attention to this time around. Speaking of the bigger picture, Rachael Lindsay has, of course, been someone who has been fighting for and leading the charge in Bachelor Nation for progress, for change, for years now. We are all so thankful to Rachael for all of the steps she personally took for progress in the franchise. And, you know, I think it goes without saying, we all know she's been a huge active part of the conversations, you know, surrounding the current controversy. And I think a lot of us were waiting to know what she would think of the After the Final Rose special, and she has just shared some of her thoughts. In a recent episode of Extra, Billy Bush noted that Rachael Lindsay, it's hard because they're both Rachael Lindsay had spoken to Rachael Kirkconnell and asked how she was coping in the wake of her breakup with Matt. Rachael Lindsay shared that she hopes the finale gave her the closure that she needed, and she thinks that she's going to be fine. As for her thoughts on Matt's decision to end the relationship, she said, quote, "I think it's hard for us to give an opinion as to what Matt should do now or how he should navigate his relationship with Rachael. I think it's just a personal decision," which, of course, makes so much sense. She went on to say she thinks Matt has some issues that he needs to work through before he can start another relationship, but she believes his journey is not over yet. So, as always, I mean, Rachael Lindsay is just spot on right here. You know, she's always the voice of reason. She knows what's up. It's interesting to me, though, aside from her comments on Matt, to hear that she has spoken to Rachael Kirkconnell. She didn't really get into it, but I have to imagine that was an interesting conversation.
I never would have put that together. I don't know why. I guess I didn't think to myself, one of these days, and probably sometime soon, the two Rachels are going to talk about what happened. But it makes sense because Rachael Lindsay played such a big role in kind of relaying relevant information, and then she went through all of that with Chris Harrison. So it makes sense that they would connect. I think there was a lot that went on during that conversation. I don't think it was negative. I don't think it was an attack fest. I think it was a really productive conversation. And I kind of love that Rachael Lindsay is kind of just keeping that between them. You know, that's a special conversation that they had between them, and she's not airing it all out. Obviously, it wouldn't have gone poorly. I just don't see a scenario in which that would have taken place. But yeah, I mean, as far as everything Rachael has said about Matt James and Rachael Kirkconnell, I do think that it was an opportunity for Rachael Kirkconnell. It's so weird because you're right, they're both named Rachael, so it's like, which one am I talking about? But I hope that the show is able to give her some closure. I feel like as much as you can get given the circumstances, then yeah, and I agree. I think she will be okay. And Matt James, yeah, I think the both of them need to remain single. You know, they have a lot of healing. It's not just that Rachael needs to do a lot of growing, and Matt needs to heal from a hard breakup, but the both of them do. I think they both need to do a lot of growing and soul searching. You know, I mean, you put your whole heart out on the line. It didn't end up working out. Anybody would need some time to just self-reflect. So, as always, yes, Rachael, Lindsay is spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is such a good point. Like, we could see in that ending of the finale, granted he didn't propose, but when they, you know, decided, okay, we're going to leave here together, we're going to take on the world, and from that excitement to the polar opposite, the devastation and the clear hurt on both of their faces, you know, you could hear it in their voice sitting on that stage. Those were two people who were truly in love, who are, you know, going through not only an extremely public breakup with a lot of opinions and a lot of, you know, suggestions unwarranted from fans, you know, and non-fans alike. I mean, let's face it, anyone in Bachelor Nation, I think, deals with a lot of hate online in general, let alone when there are some truly, you know, difficult, upsetting circumstances that come into play for the relationship to end. So the two of them, I think, both deserve some time to heal, you know, some time to reflect on the process, on the journey. And also, I mean, listen, we've talked about this a little in another video, Mariah. Rachael, I think, held her own on that stage. She did a good job of taking accountability for her actions, proving that she is committed to doing the work. But all of that stems from now she has some work to do, right? So to give her some space to heal, to move forward and continue to do this work so she can end up in a really great place down the line, I think is something she definitely deserves.
Yeah, I agree. She held her own. You know, she knew it was not going, she was going to show up and not be put in the hot seat. Like, she was completely prepared for that. And I think she did a good job in being prepared for that. And kind of, I do appreciate how she kept it from ever getting emotional in regards to her controversy, not necessarily like her and Matt breaking up. She did show some emotion naturally. She's not a robot, but I appreciate that she kept it very to the point and professional, because that was a moment that we all wanted to hear her for the first time. We've only heard from her via social media. So I think she did a really great job. And yeah, this is a point in her life. She is going to overcome this. One of these days she'll look back and it will be something that changed her life forever, but not necessarily for the worse, I think. I think it's only going to elevate her because she's going to continue to put in the right work. She's going to continue to grow, educate, advocate. And I think looking back, she may even be, I don't know, I'll say even grateful that maybe things happened, because I'm sure that she is going to be on a path that she never would have thought she was ever going to be on, but it will end up being for the better. I don't know. I would feel like one of these days she's going to continue to put in this work. This could be one of the things that changed her life forever. So
absolutely. And I think one of the things that stood out as really authentic to me is she seemed genuinely disappointed in the ignorance that she had. And you're so right. I mean, who knows? Obviously, we're projecting here, but if I was someone who was made aware of, you know, an ignorance that I had and given an opportunity while I was still young to really set myself on a different path, I think hindsight 10, 15 years from now, the social media, you know, pressure and scrutiny and spotlight in theory will have faded, but what will still be there is a person who has really turned a corner and created a whole new path for herself. So I really do wish, sort of following in what Matt and Emmanuel said on that stage, we don't want anyone to be canceled, right? That's never the goal. We want people to hold themselves accountable. So I hope that this is the start of a positive new chapter for not only Matt, but for Rachael too. Oh my goodness. It is so crazy how much there truly is to talk about on any given day about Bachelor Nation, you guys. We are going to continue to do our best here at Shared News to keep you updated on all of it. Mariah, this was so fun. It has been such a chaotic week in Bachelor Nation, so much to keep up with, but I look forward to continuing because we are truly some of the most dedicated Bachelor fans out there.
Yes, we are. And looking on a positive note, I cannot wait for the new Bachelorettes, plural, to take place. I'm excited for Katie. I gotta say, if I'm being honest, I'm more excited for Michelle. So I think both seasons are gonna be really great because they're so polar opposites. We're gonna get like totally different seasons. So this has been a great learning experience for all of us. It's been a lot, as you put it, but we have some really good stuff coming our way. So I'm ready. Bring on the Bachelorette.
I am so with you. And you guys, on that positive note, we're going to leave it here. We want to know what you guys think of everything that went on in Bachelor Nation this week. And of course, as Mariah just mentioned, as we are looking to the future, how excited you are for the upcoming Bachelorettes. Let us know down in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you are notified for all these lives that we will continue to be doing, and of course, all of those new videos as well. As always, I am your host, Fiona Zaring. You can follow me on socials at Fiona Zaring. I was joined by the lovely Mariah Davis. Mariah, where can they find you?
You can find me at Mariah Davis. It's very simple. Should be easy to remember.
I love it. All right, well, thank you guys all for tuning in with us live, and we will see you next time. Bye.